what it is? Welcome back to the channel. We're just having a great day. So we're not gonna be doing a whole lot tonight. As you guys can tell, we got some weird lighting going on. The sun's about to go down. Brad just showed up. He was able to get his hands on a short block Cummins, and it's in the back of his truck right now, along with some other miscellaneous parts. So we are gonna use the backhoe to lift it up out of there. And we're just gonna try and get it set down in the shop tonight, and then we're gonna have to dig into a little bit, see if that engine's in any better shape than the one that's actually in that Ford right now. So I don't know how this is gonna go. Well, taking the engine out is gonna be good, but we have no idea how that engine's gonna look. So there may be some other stuff to make some this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go ahead and jump into it, and let's roll. I'm just gonna go ahead and set the camera up so I can focus on not destroying Brad's truck. Anyhow, daylight is premium right now, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing set down on the tire. And I didn't see anything come out, it just was like super squeezed in place. So we may try and pick up a little key that goes right there. Oh, it's way off. It's a 21, not even close. Now, I know somewhere I've got like the correct hardware to actually lift stuff with this, and everything's gonna be completely identical when we put it back together. So, all right, guys, well, got some tough decisions to make right now because cylinder walls are just way smooth. So this was a very last minute thing, and we're trying to like run around and grab everything that we need. I got a nice sling that we're gonna be using, super short. I just need to see if I have a shackle in my Peterbilt. I'm just gonna go ahead and set the camera up so I can focus on not destroying Brad's truck. Ready? I got a big semi-truck tire leaned up against the side of the shop over there. You want to roll it in this bay? We'll just set it on that tire. Got it. All right, so while we got the engine up in the air, we're gonna go ahead and give it a quick once over. We're gonna just pop off the harmonic balancer real quick, see if that front seal's worth anything or if this engine's in worse shape than the previous one. Any guesses? Better, worse?
I'm gonna say better.
Okay.
Anything's better than 300,000.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. Let's find out. This thing came out of a F700.
The timing cover's no good.
Yeah.
They pull this thing out with a 30-ton excavator.
Yeah, these guys aren't the best dismantlers. That's ready.
All right, here we go. I don't think it's as bad.
It's not as bad.
No.
There's a little groove there.
That's way better than the other one, though.
It actually looks really clean inside.
So far, so good. We think this is in way better shape than the other one. It does have different hardware on it. You guys will notice it's got some different engine mounts. It's because this did not come out of a Dodge. Anyhow, daylight is a premium right now, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing set down on the tire, and then I think that's probably all we're gonna get done tonight. So for any newcomers and everybody that watched the last one, I'll give you guys a quick refresher on everything that's happened so far. Basically, the entire front of the engine's been taken apart. We have the transmission taken off, which has been sent in to have its issues addressed. It was slipping, I think, in second or third gear. Basically, we got all the turbos off. We got exhaust manifold, clutch, transfer case. A lot of that stuff's going to be changing up. Clutch will stay the same. But basically, we've come to the realization that this engine is, it's past her prime. The front crankshaft seal has some pretty serious grooves worn in it. And because of that, the entire scope of work has changed. We are going to be taking everything off of this block, including the head. So you guys are going to get like a full-on detailed view of what goes on inside a 12-valve Cummins. All right, well, now that things have calmed down just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and take a minute and show you guys a couple things that you may want to look for if you guys are picking up an old block. It's going to be a little bit hard to see right now, and I'll show you guys in a little bit greater detail once we get it over in the truck and we get some better lighting on it. But basically, these cylinders have like a machining process, and they have all these little crosshatch markings in there. So I know it's going to be really hard to see right now. Actually, it's probably impossible because of how the shadows are. And then the one that I was telling you about the most, which is really promising, this crankshaft right here has almost like zero wear on it. So something was seriously like leaking out of the front of this, but as far as internals go, this crankshaft is in great shape, and it still has the P-pump cover. So the gearing on the front of this engine is just a little bit different. This is actually more of like an industrial block. Pistons may have a little bit different design. We're gonna have to wait and see once we get the head on that truck off. So the gears on the front of this block are just a little bit different, and really the main difference is the power steering pump right here. You guys can see that this actually has a castle nut with a cotter pin, whereas that one does not. I'll go ahead and show you guys that in a little bit. But as we come around to the back of the engine, you guys can see that it has a completely different housing for the transmission. I believe this came out of like an older Ford. And then as we come around to this side, you guys can see that the oil pan is actually reversed. On most pickups, this part of the oil pan is on the back end. But as we come over here, you guys can see that I have my barring tool already in there. And as I turn it, you guys are going to be able to see the pistons start moving up and down. Not very fast, it's pretty slow, but I've already done it a bunch, and it feels super, super smooth. There's just one more thing that I wanted to show you guys real quick before we like jump into that and start taking everything off of that. This piston right here is off of my first gen Cummins. You guys can see how it has just a tiny little flat spot on the top of that piston right there on this protrusion that comes up. Well, as we come over to this guy, you guys can see that it has a huge flat spot on the top of that. And the reason for that is these engines have two different style injectors. So each piston is designed to work with a specific style of injector. So we're really hoping when we take that one apart that it has this same style piston. So that's the only thing that has me just like a little bit concerned if this engine has different style pistons. If it does, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. We may be swapping even more stuff onto that block, but that block is just in way better shape than this one is, along with the internals. The crankshaft, way better. So let's go and start taking everything apart. And I'm gonna try and not get too dirty because I actually gotta leave for work in about 30-40 minutes, but I do wanna get a start on taking all of this off. So let me go ahead and start with that, and then we'll probably do injection lines. And we'll just start working our way. Well, since time is of the essence today, we're gonna speed this up. Not that it's super important, but that's where the thermostat hangs out. All right, we almost got the AC compressor off. Okay, let's see if I can get this out without breaking anything. Or if other stuff's gonna have to come off. Come on, bolts. All right, beautiful. So next we're gonna go ahead and take up this guy. Water comes in the engine right here. This is what holds the AC bracket, holds the tensioner. This is like a very multi-purpose piece of metal right here, but let's go ahead and get that off. All right, so pretty much got the last piece of the puzzle off on the side of the engine. That's this guy right here. I don't know the exact technical term for this. We're just gonna call it the water neck. So we're gonna go ahead and set that down right there for now. I guess technically we could take off the oil cooler. That's where the oil filter spins on. You have some different other oil outlets right there, but I think we're gonna go ahead and leave that for now. So next up on the list, we're gonna go ahead and start taking apart the top of the engine. And we are going to start with the injection lines, because these you wanna be very careful with. So we're gonna take those off first just so we don't damage anything. It's been a lot of fun working on this engine because I used to know this thing back and forth. So I'm like having to dig through the cobwebs to see if I can remember which size wrenches go on what. If I remember correctly, I think these are a 19. Let's see. So we got the 19. Oh yeah. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and get these all broken loose. Once they're cracked open, they're really not that hard to take off. So normally there's a little clamp that holds these 3 lines in place and these 3 lines in place. And the reason those are so important is because this is a very rattly engine, and these will shake back and forth just a little bit. And just imagine like thousands and thousands and thousands of vibrations. Eventually they'll crack right here. So we are going to want to replace these, but for the time being, they're not there. So we're just going to go ahead and keep removing these. We are going to keep these all bunched together. You guys can see they have other clamps right here that kind of hold the shape. And so we're going to try and preserve that. But as they sit right now, as soon as we take them off of the injectors, we should be able to lift all 6 injector lines at the same time. So in theory, these should all just kind of pop off. It might take a little bit of finagling. There we go. There's all your injector lines. So as much as I'd like to keep working on this thing, I do got to clean up and get going. We did make some pretty good progress, but when I get back today, we're going to go ahead and take this head off. There's just a couple small things that I need to disconnect. This guy right here, this goes in the back of the injection pump. This is the fuel return line that comes from the injectors. They all kind of like daisy chain together. So we'll just have to pop that off. That's not high pressure or anything when the engine's running. It's just the residual. Basically pumps it back into the return line for the fuel system. And then after that's done, I think that's it. I think we can go ahead and take the valve covers off, take the heads off. But before I get going, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys that gear that I was talking about on that engine, the one that had the castle nut on the power steering gear. And it might even be an air compressor. I don't remember. I didn't really look at it too much. It's kind of on the downside of the engine. But this one, you guys can basically see that the gear is just pressed onto the shaft right here. I've never heard of these failing. This is like a super non-issue, but it's just one of the slight differences between this engine and that engine. I got to get the old Peterbilt warming up. I got to head into town, and I will see you guys when I get back. All right, back at it today. Yesterday ended up going just a little bit longer than I wanted to, and because of that, I ran out of time to work on the Cummins. There's really not a whole lot left to do as far as getting this thing completely disassembled, or at least as far as we're going to be going, but we're kind of to the phase where we got to put some thought into it because the removal of these components right here are pretty technical, and we don't want to mess them up. So we may be switching out this power steering pump. I'm not 100% sure yet on what Brad wants to do with that, and then once that's done, we will go ahead and start removing the head. But like I said, this is a little bit more on the technical side, so I'll try and keep it real for you guys. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just start removing everything. We're going to set the camera up on my super nice stand right here and get to work. I don't do videos like this too often where I actually just like set the camera up and get to work, so let me know what you guys think about it, if you like this style or not. Now I may be wrong, but I think there's supposed to be a key on this little tab right here. You guys can see how it has that notch machined out right there. Might be kind of hard to see. This has a notch machined out of it as well. And I didn't see anything come out, it just was like super squeezed in place. So we may try and pick up a little key that goes right there. But for the time being, we're just trying not to lose parts. So we're gonna go ahead and put this back together. All right guys, I've been having some serious issues with my camera today, so there's a lot of footage that got lost, but as you guys can tell, we've definitely been busy. I've been diving into the Cummins a little bit. If I still have footage of this, I'll go ahead and rewind a little bit and show you guys what's going on there. And I've already done most of it. It might be kind of hard to pick up, but we have an oil supply line right there that used to feed into the injection pump and into the power steering pump. There was some other odds and ends that came in throughout here, but pretty much everything's been disassembled. And there are a couple tools that make this job way easier. One of them is this little guy right here. You can use a universal one such as this if you don't have one, but the Cummins specific ones are pretty cool. It's this guy right here. The holes are exactly where they need to be to line up with that. Comes with the correct size bolts. So basically you just thread them into there. You start cranking down on this and it'll pull that gear off. The camshaft is a completely different animal. Basically to remove this thing, you heat up the entire thing. I mean like hot, with like a torch hot. And then basically it expands enough to where it just slides off of the camshaft right there. And then to put it back on, it's just the opposite. I would set the gear in an oven, get it just screaming hot, everything's expanded, then it literally just slides back on there. It's pretty wild, but like I said, we're not gonna be doing that in today's video. We're just gonna go ahead and remove this. That's looking like a 17 to me. Let's see if I'm right. Of course I'm not. 18 maybe? also no. I was way off. It's a 21, not even close. But basically you just start like wrenching down on this thing and it'll slowly start to pull it out. So I would try this with one hand, but when they're on there and they finally break loose, sometimes they tend to pop off. So I kind of want to have some pressure on it, even though it'll probably just come out nicely. Yeah, see, we're already free. Easy day. And you guys can see we got the shaft on the injection pump right here. You guys might be able to see it. There's that little hole where this guy goes into that locks the camshaft gear into top dead center. As we put it in, you guys can see it, maybe. Ugh, kind of a bear to get in there. Nah, anyhow, that's where it goes. There's a little hole back there, but not important anymore. But we're gonna go ahead and take this guy off. You guys can see we got threads there. This one's finger tight. That's not good. So yeah, that's not really what you want to see when you're taking bolts out. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. Let me go ahead and set the camera back down, and we're gonna go ahead and get back to work. But since this is out, I'll be able to find out real easy what size bolt it is. This one is, it's kind of loose in a 16, so maybe a 15. Definitely 15, perfect. Always an extra little something on this injection pump. And unless you do this like every single day, it's basically just like you keep taking stuff off until it comes off nicely. Because like I said, these things are extremely sought after. Everybody wants a P pump. If you're not familiar with like what the core charge on these things are, go over to like Extreme Diesel or one of those diesel performance websites and just look up anything P7100 to see what the core charge is. It's crazy. This video is gonna take forever to edit. That's okay. Make it happen, guys. Just realized I've been recording a bunch of stuff on time lapse. So long story short, took all the valve covers off. We set them there. They're powder coated. They are matching the truck. They look really great. We're gonna try and take really good care of those. I'm gonna put them in a box and put them up on a shelf, but I don't have a box with me right now. I'm trying really hard to get this head off, so we're trying to just get this thing cranked out. But basically, I need to take each one of these assemblies off now. We're gonna put all of these in a bag that's labeled cylinder number 6. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then once all of those are off, we'll go ahead and take the push rods out too. We just gotta loosen the infinite amount of head studs that are on here, and then we'll hook up the hoist, and this thing will just lift off nice and clean. So we're gonna go ahead and take all these apart. I think the head technically could come off without doing it, but I'm trying to avoid any damage possible because we don't want to replace any of that. So let me go ahead and get all that taken apart. And I'm having to like work in sequences right now because my camera's almost dead, so I got to keep putting it back on the charger. So when I get back, I'll probably just show you guys cylinder number 1, taking all that apart, and I'll have the rest done. But let me go ahead and put the camera back on the charger. All right, so we are this close to lifting the head off. As you guys can tell, I have everything removed. And we just have this one up front here. So this one right here is what holds on the rocker arm assembly, plus this one right here. This is part of the actual clamping force that holds the head down too. And basically what I did is every single cylinder right there, I gave each one its own bag. So like these push rods, these bolts, and this rocker arm assembly are from the rear cylinder, and then it just makes its way forward. So as long as nobody messes with this box, I know exactly which push rods went to the intake and exhaust valves, and everything's gonna be completely identical when we put it back together. So this is the last one I gotta do. I just gotta go ahead and loosen everything. So we'll talk about this stuff a little bit later. This is the ARP, which is the company that makes the head studs. This is their Ultra Torque Fastener Assembly Lubricant. Highly recommend it if you guys are doing this kind of stuff. We got a couple of these head studs that are not wanting to come out. It kind of feels like they were driven all the way down. And I don't know that you're quite supposed to do that. I'm trying to remember, but like this guy right here, man, it's really in there. And I'm trying real hard to not do any damage to this thing, but it is not wanting to come out. So let me see if I got a socket that I can fit in there, so I can crank on it with a ratchet. Really don't want to break my out. There it goes. Okay, that was the last one that had any sort of pressure on it. So we'll go ahead and get that one backed out all the way. So I've been super curious to see what the inside of this engine looks like. If the crankshaft's any indicator of what the inside looks like, it's probably not going to be in great shape. But we will, oh, we got one more. Golly. Come on. The very last one that's fighting. Jeepers. Please don't break. Please don't break. Goodness gracious. Ah. Super cross your fingers that this does it. Come on. No! No. You can't do this to me. Come on. No, it's not. This is not good because these have to come out because we're using them on the new block. Not that you're supposed to reuse head studs, but we are going to. So, let's see. What can old James do? If I had some nuts that were the same size, I could do like a reverse bite. This sucks. Super sucks, guys. It's always the last one. Maybe we could just try and do it by hand with a hand ratchet. And that's really in there now. So let's see. Yes! Okay. Now for anybody that's thinking about doing this project, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys something real quick. These have a very different style nut on them than just your typical six-sided. You want to make sure to use a socket that grabs every single one of those teeth. I don't know if you guys can see it, but basically just fits in there perfect. So make sure you have the right socket, otherwise you may have some rounding issues. But that was the very last one. So we will go ahead, put this in the bag. Now I know somewhere I've got like the correct hardware to actually lift stuff with this, but it's tucked away on a shelf somewhere and I don't feel like looking for it. But I am excited to use this again. I love this little feature. I bought the air powered, well it's not really air powered, it's like an air something that actuates the hydraulics to lift this up. Super easy to use. You can pick these up at Harbor Freight if you did not see the video where I installed this thing. I love it. Makes engine hoists 1,000 times easier. So let me go ahead and get this thing rigged up. We'll get it lifted off, then we get to see what it's like on the inside. All right, here we go. I'm not just gonna yeet this thing off. We are gonna go slow. Okay. Kind of feels like something's still holding on. Let me see real quick. There shouldn't be anything. I'm gonna give it a couple love taps. Pressure on that. Something's holding on to that pretty hard. There we go. Starting to have lift off. A little more. You want to be gentle with these things. Like I said, you don't want to pinch anything when you're lifting this stuff up because there are keepers that come in place. And not that we're reusing the block at all, but who knows? It might be in good shape still, other than the crankshaft jargon. So let's go ahead and find out. All right, guys. Well, we got some tough decisions to make right now because we kind of got one of those scenarios where it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The crosshatch markings on this block inside the cylinders are actually way better than they are on the block that's over there. But the block that's over there, the crankshaft on it is in way better shape than this one is. So we may be dissecting a little bit, switching stuff over from one block to the other. I gotta talk to Brad. I gotta see what he wants to do because there are pros to this one. There's also cons to this one, and it's the same thing over there. So as it sits right now, my hands are kind of tied on what we're gonna do. Brad is gonna come over tomorrow and check this thing out. So I'm gonna go ahead and shine a light down in there. Hopefully you guys are able to see it. I'm gonna show you the crosshatch markings that I've been talking about off and on throughout this whole video. They are much better on this block. They kind of show up. Basically, you don't want smooth cylinder walls. That's a bad thing. They're pretty good in this engine. So basically in this cylinder right here, you guys can see that it's a lot more shiny. Other cylinders, now that one's the same too. The crosshatch markings are there, but the cylinder walls are just way smoother than they are on that engine, which you might think smoother's better, but they're actually not. The shiny cylinder walls is actually a sign that the engine has much more wear and tear on it. So I gotta wait for Brad to make up his mind. I'm gonna call him right now. This project just keeps snowballing. But as it sits right now, I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Huge progress was made. So some of you may think like this is an absolute no-brainer, but to be honest with you guys, this is a really hard choice. If it were up to me, I wanna say I'd probably go with this block and try and either repair that crankshaft or use that one. But then you got to worry about like microscopic differences because that crankshaft is pretty much seated to that engine. And although they're machined the same, you know, if they've got 300,000-400,000 miles on them, they're used to each other. So I don't know what I would do. This is a tough choice. I'm gonna have to call Brad. He's coming over tomorrow. We're gonna discuss our options. But regardless, huge progress was made today. The cylinder head is off, even though it may have not needed to come off. We do have a new head gasket for it. So we're trying to get this thing 100. But as far as this video goes, I'm done for today. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the screws this video. Huge progress was made today. Thank you guys for watching. I'm super excited for the next couple videos. The turbos came back this week. The transmission's back. So we're almost to the phase where we get to actually start putting stuff back together and testing things. That's when it starts to get exciting. But again, if you guys could do me a huge solid like, subscribe, share this video with your amigos, hit that notification button down below so you guys can continue to see progress on the Cummins and whatever else we got going on, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.